Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Oops, forgot to turn on the actual camera. Okay, so welcome to the show. Hang on just a second. Well, I think I'm going to have to do that. All right, I can't really change anything on that. Okay, so anyway, welcome to the show. I am happy to be here. I have a lot of things I want to do that I haven't been able to do for a while, but I'm going to be able to start doing it now. Let's see, let me turn this down just a little. Okay. All right. So, so I've been waiting to jump in on this stuff for a bit now. But it's only been recently that I've been able to get to this point because I've got too many of the things I want to talk about take a certain amount of skills and experiences, and you have to actually have done the magic that I want to talk about to really understand some of the stuff that I'm going to be talking about. But it hasn't been until I've been able to start offering these courses that I've got that I can actually start pointing to the things and the techniques and talking about this stuff in a way that's useful. So now that I've got the content out there and we can start getting ourselves trained and brought up to speed on what it is to do magic the way I think it ought to be done and stuff, I can start talking about the results of that and how to use that and all that other stuff. So I wanted to give you a quick update on the classes. The planetary classes, last Sunday's Jupiter class was it was only 2 hours. It didn't quite go over the full 3 hours as it usually does, but I put it together on my Mac this time, and I was not very used to working with my Mac, but now that I'm actually used to it, I am going to be using it, and it should be a lot faster. But the delays from last week's class, I blame entirely on not knowing exactly what I was doing with the new technology. So anyway, that is out there. If you've bought the class, you should have gotten an email that has links to all the content and the video. If you did not purchase a class, they're available, they're recorded. It's going to be $25 a piece. All the information's in the description down below about how to do that. Okay, so that was the class picks part. Let's see what else is going on. Oh, I'm going to start streaming. I'm currently streaming on what is this? Twitch. Yes, I started a Twitch channel. So where's my? Oh, there it is. Okay. So, yep. Okay, so there it is. That's my Twitch stream. If you go there, I guess, I'm not sure exactly how it works. Oh, there it is. There's a watch now button. And, yeah. So I guess it's just showing whatever. I don't know. I don't know exactly how this works. I've never done this before. So anyway, I'm streaming on Twitch. We'll see how that goes. I'm just sort of playing with it for now. Yeah. So... so that's all the news that is new news right now. Speaking of news, I want to start doing some presentations on the occult things that I find. I have a special Google search that I do that is looking for all the occult information and that's fit to print. I found some pretty interesting stuff. I want to talk about some of the things that are going on in the occult community outside of our at least my sphere of familiarity. There's a lot of weird crap in this world that the people who are not used to the occult think really weird things about us, and I think it's worth keeping a toe in the news cycle to see what's going on. And also, you find out cool stuff like there was an article about the some necromantic rites they found in over in Rome. Anyway, I'm going to be talking about those too. So hopefully we'll have some news stuff that's actually news stuff and not just new stuff. So that's on my list of things to do as well. What else is going on? I've got, I think that's it for the news. So we're going to jump right in here. Today we're going to talk about lightning and extension, right? What it is to be human. And this is stuff that it's all come out of my experiences with my studies in the Dervani manuscript. That's here. Let me show you. There's a link in the description, but I gotta name that something different so I can see it. So this is the script, the text that got me started on all this stuff. It's the Dervani Theology, Many Questions and Some Answers by Alberto Bernabe. He presents this story here of what the author of the Dervani manuscript was trying to explain. He breaks it out into the different parts, and he discusses everything that basically you've ever heard me talk about whenever I talk about this stuff. It's almost 100% from this document. I've also had some very interesting conversations with Bing, of all people, that have pointed me to some very interesting resources. And if you are on academia.edu, if you ever see the stuff where it lets you see who's doing what, I have, you can see what I've been researching, and all this stuff is in my reading history. So just look me up over on academia.edu. You can follow and see all the stuff that I've been opening. And if you ever want to go down the rabbit trails that I go down, this is where I go down rabbit trails. So ChatGPT is not great at a lot of things, all right? And I have changed mind. I don't know. I haven't changed my mind. I never really was. I don't think you should ever use it to generate content like writing or presentations or anything, because it's just so wrong about everything. But it's really useful for like asking it questions about resources and tracking down. Really, all it's great for is search. It provides information that gives you resources that you can actually go and look at. You can't trust anything it says. It's always wrong. If you ever want to see something fun, ask it to tell you, cite the chapter titles of Agrippa's 3 books of occult philosophy, and ask it to tell you like stuff that you know where it's at. And it just makes all this crap up and says it's all in the wrong chapters. So anyway, it's not a great tool for using anything for real. But if you use the Bing version of it, that gives you links back to the resources that they're actually grabbing their information from, so you can follow up on it. And it's kind of interesting, some of the stuff you end up with. Do check it out. Always I will advocate for integrating the latest technologies into your life. Okay, back to lightning and extension. So what are we? What are human beings? Why are we here? Why are we doing all this stuff? You know, that's like the question that's always like in our minds, or I don't know about you, it's always in my mind. I'm always trying to figure out what I want to do and why I'm here and all that stuff. But I'm pretty happy with where I'm at, you know. But I think in this Dervani manuscript we kind of start to I don't know how. Maybe I should start with Robert Anton Wilson. The whole approach that I have to all this stuff is based on this understanding of everything being a cosmic all thing. And Robert Anton Wilson put together this interpretation of the whole Neoplatonic thing that was informed by his what do you call it? His understanding, his interpretation of the whole Masonic stuff that he'd read about in Pike, and all of his initiatory stuff. Lon Milo Duquette, in my opinion, Lon Milo Duquette and Robert Anton Wilson smoked a lot of pot together. I don't have any proof. I've I know that they've hung out. I do know that he and one informed the other of several interesting things, but I don't know whether or not he was ever a part of Sora Merrill's AA. But it would explain a lot if he were. But I don't know. I don't have any proof. He might have just been whatever. But the whole all thing concept was something that was introduced to me by Robert Anton Wilson and the whole Illuminatus trilogy. And I understood it intrinsically the first time I saw it. It was like I already knew that this was how it worked. I didn't know how far back it went. I didn't know it was like Platonic in its formation. I was 16, but I didn't really believe half the stuff I was reading in there. I thought it was all made up crap. But I went on to study all this stuff for many years, and here I am. And this Derveni manuscript it's the oldest manuscript we have. It's the oldest text that's sort of complete. It comes from about 500 BC, and it talks about how the Orphic tradition of at least this particular theogony is metaphorical, and the people who are experiencing the mystery traditions today are just doing it for wine and song and just getting off on the joy and the Dionysian and exhibitionism and the orgies and the drugs, and they don't really appreciate the fact that these are analogies, that, you know, it's not just drugs, sex, and rock and roll. There's actual mystical things that are going on here. And his publishing of this was it was a way of arguing against the hedonistic interpretation of Orphism that was going on in his time, in his opinion. The guy that wrote it was probably a student of Anaxagoras. He's got a lot of Anaxagoras' approach to things. He's got the whole atomic, everything is atomic, everything is made up of the elemental particles. He's into the what's it called? Something monism. Anyway, it's basically everything is one thing, or everything is made of ultimately an essential element, and that element is in everything, right? And he talks about how Zeus is a metaphor for the purest form of fire, and that then it also became air. So Zeus is both fire and air in his elemental interpretation. And then all the other gods that come out of him are from the mingling of fire, air, and which produces water. He believed the smoke was like vapor, and vapor became clouds, and clouds was rain. So water came out of that, and obviously if fire and air lead to water, they must also lead to earth, or something like that. I don't know how that all works, but that's what I figure he must have been thinking about. But that was their approach, right? This whole thing was like, it's a metaphor for understanding how the actual universe is composed and how it manifests and how it materializes. And I agree, that's what he was all talking about, but it wasn't air and all that. It's actually an analogy for the demiurge, right? It's a story of how Zeus was just I'm going to be going over this whole story of Zeus because it's fucking amazing, but we're going to do it in small chunks, right? But yeah, so this demiurge entity. So Zeus went through all of history that we understand in the Hesiod. So he went through everything in the Hesiod, and he went up through the heroic age. You know, he had Hercules, all the mythos up through where he was like king of the gods, right? So he was like raised in a cave. He defeated the Titans. He became the king of the gods. He established the heroic age. He had kids. He did the whole Trojan War thing. He had all of his adventures. And then he got troubled because he was worried he was going to be overthrown, and he started to have these dreams and visions of him recreating the universe in his own image and all this stuff, and he was like worried about it. So he goes to Night, the oldest of the emergent entities that came out of chaos, and says, hey, look, I'm having these dreams and I need to know what you think about this. Give me an oracle or something, please help me. So the oldest entity that could be communicated with has this conversation with him that confirms that his dreams are prophetic, that they are real. One of the things I recently learned about Zeus is that he was the god of oracles. I didn't know that he had an aspect that was all about that, but this is why he has these dreams that were true. But he dreamed that he had consumed the source of existence, the phallus of Uranus, that Kronos had cut off and had not consumed. He had just established a rulership from his own titanic power. But the phallus of Uranus, the generative force, was still hovering up in the sky, and that was the sun. And the idea that the sun is a phallus of a deity, we find that in Osiris's golden phallus, that the missing phallus was the sun. It is the generative force. The sun is the source of life on Earth. It's why we're not decaying into a pile of entropy or an open system that absorbs the light of the sun. It is the source of life, light, liberty, and love. Because you can't love if you're not alive. Anyway, the whole... hey, it's going great. The whole process of this whole anyway, the sun representing this phallus and the source of creation is key to the whole emergence of him as a demiurge, right? So he goes up, he consumes this phallus of his grandfather, I guess by this time, and it's metaphorical. He's absorbing the power of creation and generation, and when he does, the universe implodes. And you got to understand that the insides of gods aren't like the insides of humans, right? We've got when Uranus and Gaia were copulating, and Gaia wasn't able to give birth to the Titans, Uranus was blocking her from being able to have their babies. But when he finally was kicked off of her, she was able to have those kids, but those kids were alive inside of her, right? I mean, Kronos was able to get the stone sickle, the flint sickle that he used to cut off the phallus of Uranus from the stones of the earth itself. So basically they were living in caves within the womb of Gaia, and then they kicked Sky off. Sky jumped back, the Titans came out and established the Golden Age. But when Kronos was swallowing his babies, they didn't die either, right? So the insides of gods aren't like digestive tracts or anything. It's just sort of like a metaphor for keeping them inside themselves so they couldn't be expressed. So when Zeus consumes this phallus that is the source of everything in the universe, that is the source of all the power that we tap into as magicians, the source of life itself, he is consumed utterly. The power destroys him, destroys the universe. Everything is destroyed. It's like Akira, the video where, the divine wind comes and the forces of evolution destroy everything around it. It's like that, but on a universal scale. And then it collapses back into itself, and he expresses what we experience today as the universe out of that consumption. And you got to understand, Zeus wasn't perfect. Zeus is a demiurge. He's Yaldabaoth, right? And the metaphor of Zeus, it's not Zeus. It's a metaphor for Yaldabaoth. It's for the demiurge. It's for whoever it was that created this universe. And this Derveni manuscript gives us a map to understand how we interact with that and what it's all about. So you look at what he's done, and Zeus has recreated this entire universe, and it goes back to this whole step-by-step process where he expresses the other gods. Like, this first thing he does is he creates the middle layer of deities and conscious entities. We've got the gods, the spirits, the angels, whatever you want to call them, the messengers, the legions of the spirits that rule over all of the things, the natural spirits, the elemental spirits. He creates all of those. That's the middle, right? So when he swallows the phallus, he becomes the source of all. And when you go through the Orphic hymn to Zeus, one of the things it talks about is he's the root of all, and that's what it's talking about. He's the source of everything that we are and everything that we experience. He's expressing that his will as the universe. His desires are manifesting in our experiences. He's the source. So Zeus the head is the source. It's where all the ideas come from. It's the source, right? So Zeus the head. The Derveni manuscript says it's Zeus the head, Zeus the middle, and Zeus the all in all. And Zeus the middle is all the gods that he expressed, all the deities, all the conscious forms, all the animals, everything that partakes of awareness and the consumption of the things that are life, everything that makes a decision, everything that makes a choice. Those things are the middle, right? And then there's the all in all. And the all in all is actually the physical world, right? So he recreated chaos. He recreated the emergence of Gaia, the emergence of first night, and then Gaia, and then Eros, and then when Eros emerged, all of a sudden Gaia had to have a partner. You know, she had desires, so she needed to copulate. She's the source of Uranus. She just kind of made him come into being, and that was cool. But the rest of it, you know, that we have as a history of this emergence of the deities and the universe, that's all his plan, right? And every culture that we have that has a creation myth, it's a reflection of that emergence, right? According to this interpretation of things. It may or may not be true, but so far it seems to have a lot of explanatory force for me. The power that we're working with when we're doing magic is this creative force. It expresses things through intermediaries, according to how we vocalize things and how we put things into words and symbols, right? It's this coalescing of the unmanifest into the manifest through the manipulation of symbols. And that's what he did, right? I mean, he swallowed this phallus. He didn't swallow a phallus. It was a symbol. He manipulated a symbol and internalized it in a way that allowed him to recreate everything. And this is just one way to kind of understand why things are the way they are. And when you think about it, it does make a lot of sense. The whole Kali Yuga thing is basically what we're experiencing right now is a god trying to figure out how to be a god, how to do this thing right. Okay, so he creates this universe and the physical world, the all in all. So we've got the source, the middle is all these gods and forces, and if you study physics, you've heard of that science. It creates he creates this way of of sustaining a universe, right? And so these ancient Greeks said it was Zeus represents air and fire, and the other gods represent the mingling of these elements, and wisdom is Athena is really just wisdom. And you can interpret the Medusa myth as a woman gets harmed by a man who cannot be assault, or she can't get justice, and then from the wisdom that comes from that act, she turns into Medusa, right? And you can say Athena cursed her, or you can understand that the knowledge gained from a traumatic event that isn't provided justice creates a force of vengeance that can be tapped into symbolically as by occultists, right? So understanding that these myths are metaphors and the lore is the symbols that we use to manipulate and influence these energies. The reason Zeus was representative of air to this author of the Durrani manuscript was so that he could actually do physics, and explain what was going on, and do like his version of physics, and explain what was going to happen next, and understand why things are going the way they're going, and it sounds crazy to us, but when you look at the medical texts that they were able to create based on this stuff, there's all kinds of stuff that it sounds hokey, but they were dealing with the same problems that we had today, and the analogies that they're using are their version of therapy, their version of physical therapy. They have all kinds of texts on herbs and some stuff on ligaments and some kinds of surgery, all the different plants that could be used for all these different things. It's all there, and it's silly to us, but it was a map of their experience that made sense of things, and we can use that today if we use our minds and sort of discern what's going on in the text. So back to the what we are, right? So this consciousness of Zeus, the demiurge that consumed the creative power and expressed the universe, he's trying to figure out how to be a good god, or what he wants to do. Like, I don't know if you've done your magic and in the great work gotten all the power and understood how to make everything happen the way you want, and then had no idea what to do next, right? You run into a wall where you have to spend a few years where you can't get those promotions anymore. You've maxed out your income based on your experience until you level up, and you don't have any interests to level up. You don't want to get a new certification. You don't want to go back to school. You don't want to do all that crap. It's boring. It's not interesting. So what do? You have to wait until you get up into management or some crap, right? And that's just an analogy. It's that way about across the board in every area of our life, So I think that reflects what God's going through. He doesn't know what to do now. He's like, okay, I had to take this into myself. I've created this universe. Now what? How do I figure out what I want? So he creates this world as an experiment, a way to figure out what is right, what is wrong, what is good, and what is not. Right? The whole Platonic idea that we live in a good world is crap. It's not good. Our God, our source of everything, is not good. Look around. Shit happens and it sucks. So we can't pretend that the good is good and that the universe is all working together for the good for everybody all the time, because bad people win and good people suffer. It sucks. And you can say karma makes it okay, or Jesus will get them, or they'll burn in hell someday. These are all reasons that you give yourself so that you're not slitting their throats when they screw you over again and again and again. And that's just how we maintain society, right? We know that evil happens. Oh my Jesus, this dude, I I brought up that there were black lodges doing evil magic, and this guy was like, well, every lodge has pure things and impure things, and in World War II, the Black Lodges didn't have anything pure about them. They were doing evil shit. And if you don't think people are doing that today, look up the Order of the Nine Angles. There are occult organizations doing evil shit today to accomplish what they believe are their occult goals, and it's not new. It was going on back then too, and there are things that are objectively evil. Everything isn't good, this universe is not all things do not work together for the good of those who serve God. It's not like that. Basically, everything serves God, even the evil. And what it does for Zeus, what the evil does, in my opinion, is it gives him a chance to figure out that this sucks and not to do that anymore. But it's taken him fucking forever to learn, and he has to do it through us. So as you look at our society and our culture and our understanding, you see us grow and then collapse, and then grow and then collapse. But every time we seem to get a little bigger and a little better, and then we collapse and then we collapse. But it does seem like if you think that maybe we're getting somewhere, you can see that we're getting somewhere, and there's reason to expect that maybe God's getting somewhere too, and it's not great, and it sucks to have to go through it all the time, but each time we're doing a little bit better. So I think what we're working towards is this understanding of what is good and what is not. So the mind, the root of all, doesn't know what the heck is going on necessarily. I mean, it does, but it has fragmented itself and inhabited everything. So I'm a part of God, you're a part of God, we're all parts of God. Awesome, right? But until all of that reunites, we aren't sharing our experiences. And when you pass through death, there's all these ideas of what happens. People who come back have similar stories. It could be physiological, it could be a lot of things. It's probably physiological, but there's enough weird shit that we experience in life that you can't just pretend like there isn't a spiritual side of things. So anyway, this thing that we're doing, when we back to the Dervani text real quick. It talks about how you can, by listening to the pious and being more pious in your approach to things, you learn and you'll be reunited with this cosmic God. And if you don't, you're punished by the Erinyes, the fates, right? And what he's saying is basically you suffer the drama that sucks in life as long as you participate in it. And as soon as you start trying to do good, you start creating something that's better for everything that ends up blessing the gods. And I want to talk about how we bless the gods from Plotinus. That was very interesting understanding that made a lot of sense of a lot of things that I'm talking about. But the whole salvation of God that's being worked out through us by experiencing these negative things, the shit experiences in our lives. When we experience that and we grow from it and we learn not to do that anymore, we can take that learning up with us to God, and so he doesn't have to do that again next time. And the more we experience that, the more we work on purifying ourselves and getting ourselves up out of the patterns of destruction, patterns of evil, patterns of harm and self-harm. Once we stop doing that in ourselves, and enough of us do it, then we'll hopefully get to a point where we don't do it anymore. and we can go on to the next thing. We can move on to the next level. But right now we're still learning not to hurt ourselves. We're just sort of at that stage of existence. And some people are working on doing good, and some people are not, and whatever. It's not a matter of judgment, but it's a matter of we gotta. If you believe that there's a value in being good, you gotta be good, and the better you do, the better. Anyway, it sounds like horse crap. It sounds like a lot of good ideas, but when you start looking for practical applications of this, you find that you can do these meditations that seem to change the fabric of reality. Like, not in these major ways, well, actually in some pretty fucking major ways, but always through natural means, and in nothing that you can ever would want to take credit for. So it's a matter of the process that I'm working on is like, I meditate until I understand or am in a trance state where it feels like I am connected to the all thing. Like, I open the chakras along the center of my spine. I try to sit up straight and breathe and do the breathing techniques I learned in the AA. And I do all this stuff to open myself up, and I chant mantras. I've been doing Om Gam, and I've been doing Om Hreem, and all kinds of fun stuff. Hong, it's fun, but you do this stuff to get into a state where you're the axis mundi surrounded by the gods, right? So like, Shiva is the axis mundi around which the goddesses are dancing and having their joy and their expression of love and beauty. He's the linchpin that holds it all together. And the red goddess, Tripura Sundari, she's the one that's all experiencing the love and the joy of it, right? So it's a self-feeding system, right? The experience is all part of the point. That, like, the point is the experiences that we're having, that we're sharing, and the wisdom that we get as we get out of it. So when you do these meditations to connect to the all thing, and you've got yourself, like, I chant Zeus the head, Zeus the middle, Zeus the all and all, and it's got a rhythm to it, and I can say it in Greek, Zeus ho kephale, Zeus ho mesos, Zeus to ponto krator, it's great. I'm probably saying it terribly, but I don't really care. But you say it, you're 108 times, like they say to in the Hindu things, and you start to feel things. You sit on the side of a mountain on a rock, and you look out over a waterfall coming down in the beautiful Pacific Northwest, and you chant that in the middle of a heat dome, and picture the heat dome just sort of dissipating, after you've gotten yourself up one with God, and then on the way home the heat dome's gone, and it's like, how about that? That's an awfully interesting coincidence. Now, I don't know if I was meditating on it and I tapped into what was going on anyway, so it was going to disappear, or if I actually had some part of that. It's ridiculous to take credit for any of this stuff. You gotta always keep it real. You can't pretend like you're the god that controls everything. That's delusion and craziness. But it's interesting to play with this stuff and understand that the doors of perception are the doors of manipulation and control in a lot of ways that we don't want to take authority over, but it's there for the taking if you really want to do it. But the key is just not getting led astray by your passions and your desires for the instant gratification. You got to keep yourself focused on doing things not just for yourself but for others. And I know that sounds cheesy, but it does make more sense when you start doing the work. But you have to take care of yourself first before you can really have anything to be helpful with others. At least it helps. As soon as you start helping other people, you start helping yourself. That's true. But I think it's easier to help people when you've got a good job, a house, and a car, and you're not begging on the streets. That doesn't mean that beggars can't be helpful. They're some of the best people I've known have been insane and penniless, but that's not the measure of the character or quality of a human. Anyway, the thing is, all of this stuff that we can understand about this source, this middle, and this all thing, and our relationship to it, seems to point to the fact that we are part of this overall God thing that expresses itself out through everything. And the reason I called this lightning an extension is because everything, like the Greeks said, it was all air and it was all fire, and the Zeus was all of that stuff. I like the idea that it's all lightning. If you look in our cells in the mitochondria, we've got electricity, and up and down our nerves, we've got electricity, and we've got the same life that we got this electricity in our cells from our mother, who got it from their mother, who got it from their mother. And it's this combination of mothers and fathers, electricity housed inside a fleshy little cell, a lightning bolt wrapped in flesh that gets passed on, and it has all the way back to the first spark that was life. We are the manifestation of lightning, literally. Like, it's in our cells. So when I found this interpretation of this universal monad, this universal elemental energy that was lightning, I was like, hell yeah, that's perfect. So we are lightning in extension. We are that electricity, that consciousness. And when you look at how lightning bolts fractal out, it's a lot like how human beings and all the rest of the life fractal out. I love the lightning bolts. I really do. It's a beautiful expression of that raw power that changes the world, that wasn't there one second and was the next. So anyway, that's all I wanted to talk about tonight. I know it was a long way around the rabbit trail, but I think it was worth it. Thanks for tuning in, everyone who did. I will be more organized probably as I do this more, but and hopefully it won't always be so late, but we'll see how it goes. I will talk to you later.